Hey, what's up, guys? Shawn's the name, YouTube's the game. Now, I got something pretty unique for you today. I was actually invited by Amazing.com to do a webinar with them in regards to YouTube and growing a business and pretty much just product-based. It was a fun little webinar. I decided to actually, put it on my channel for anyone who wanted to actually learn about it as well. So I'm going to go ahead and roll through that webinar right now. Again, amazing stuff. I love all the people at Amazing, no pun intended. Check out the webinar and let me know what you think in the comments down below.
Welcome back to Seller Pro Monthly, Shawn.
Hey, how's it going? Good to be back.
Awesome. It's been a while since we spoke. I believe it was last August when we did our interview. You gave us info on what you're doing at YouTube and building channels. Have you started any other projects or branching out into some different areas? What have you been up to in the YouTube world?
Yeah, so when I launched my course initially, a lot of people really liked the information I was giving, but a lot of my examples seemed a little too high level at times. So I decided to create a brand new YouTube channel so I can show everyone from the ground up, starting 0 subscribers, 0 views, and how you grow it from there. So since then, I've started another channel. Too many to count now. I have another channel that I'm using more as an example and bringing some really good content. And yeah, I'm kind of working on that right now, along with all my other channels and whatnot.
Neat. So this new channel, I guess you're building it from the ground up. So you'd be in the same boat as, well, except for your experience, but the same boat as the rest of us in terms of starting from 0 then, eh?
Right. Exactly. So that was kind of the basis of it. Was I wanted to start from the ground up, show everyone, step by step how I did it in the past and how I'm doing it now. And so far, it's been great. Everyone's been really liking it. The examples have been great. It's been getting some great growth. And so, yeah, I'm loving it. Okay,
cool. So this new course, so I shouldn't necessarily, it's got a new name. It's called the 2019 YouTube Masterclass now. You've done, basically, it's a large revamp to the old course in order to update it, keep it fresh and relevant. How much of this course would you say is brand new content then?
So YouTube got a major update in 2019. So I probably updated about 30 to 35% of my course. Either I scrapped some old content and just threw it out and put in a bunch of new stuff, or I took existing content and revamped it a little bit. Talked a little bit more about how the algorithms changed, how some of the features on YouTube has changed, and how to, better yourself on the platform with those changes.
Okay. Yeah, and as I understand it from what I've read online and from talking to you prior to this interview, that there has been a lot of really significant changes that YouTube has introduced. I mean, obviously since that previous course was released, and especially over the past few months, specifically, I think you said starting on January 1st, a lot of things really changed. It's mostly in terms of, I think, the analytics that are available to content creators. So let's just jump straight into those, I'm assuming would be very important changes that I guess we all need to know as YouTube creators.
Yes, they are a lot. The guts of YouTube have completely changed. So it's like a whole new platform almost.
What are those major changes? Can you briefly just go through them, or?
Yeah. So in the back end, there's all these different platforms, which we'll show in a little bit. But, the analytics itself, YouTube added in a ton of more metrics to kind of look at and determine if what you're doing is what you should be doing, as well as just making it not look prehistoric. The back end of YouTube has pretty much been the same ever since I can remember, since like 2011. So just recently, like you said, in January, they launched this whole new back end, calling it the YouTube Studio. Before it was called the Creator Studio. I've always got like a little name change on it, but now it's the YouTube Studio, and it looks completely different, and in my opinion is amazing. The best thing that's ever come to YouTube.
Oh, wow. That's remarkable. When you say things have hardly changed since 2011, I mean, is there any platform or any online platform, especially social media, that hasn't changed just drastically? Like, we recently had Manol Georgiev on, who's a Facebook expert, and he's saying, on Facebook, if you're not, up to date within the last 6 months, then you're not up to date. But you're saying that it's been like 8 years for YouTube. That's actually remarkable.
So, and the thing that's crazy is, the front of YouTube, what viewers are seeing, and what the average user of YouTube is seeing, changes all the time. The algorithm changes all the time. All of that changes all the time. Yet, the creators who are actually building this content, what they're seeing on a daily basis, in the back end, never changed. So, and a big reason for that, I think, is every time there's a change brought to YouTube, creators have this big uproar, like, no, this isn't the way we used to do it. But this is the one update I've seen that has been some really solid feedback so far. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
Nice. And it's all centered around analytics then?
For the most part. I mean, analytics got the big boost, but everything else just looks cleaner. It is more visually appealing, and it's supposed to be more user friendly. A lot of people are still learning, the new changes, but I think, over time, over the next 4 to 6 months, it will be incredibly easy to use in comparison to the old system.
Awesome. Hey, so you're prepared, you're willing to do a screen share then and take us in and show us a lot of those major changes and what we need to know?
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. Let's do that now then.
Okay, so just logged in. This is the back end to that newer channel I was talking about, that one that I started from the ground up. Like I said, it's already seen some really great growth in the last few months that I started it, but pretty much how to get to the back end, pretty simple. You just click on your account up here, and then if I wasn't in this page, it would just say, YouTube Studio, and then you just click on it, and this is going to be your dashboard. So, like I said, this is completely different. I can show, what the old version looked like really quick, and it's complete. Like, this is completely different. This is, like I said, very prehistoric, and it hasn't changed in forever. And then the new Studio Beta is pretty much what was released in 2019 that everyone is really stoked about, because that's all of the newer features and whatnot that I'll show you. It just always takes a while to load when it's transferring between the two. I don't know what it is, but
one quick question, Shawn. So this is you're going to show us the new channel you started. When did you actually start this channel?
So this channel was actually created itself a while ago, like 2 years ago, and I used it basically just in my course, to show how to set up a channel, but I never really posted much to it until recently. So it was started a while ago, but I just recently started regularly uploading, which is a big thing I always talk about in my course. Regular uploads on YouTube is always king, and I just started regularly uploading to it, I believe about January 1st. So yeah, it's been pretty great so far, and it's great for examples and whatnot. But so yeah, this is the dashboard. Just gives you your quick snapshot of everything that's going on with your channel. This is my most recent upload, so it just kind of tells you, hey, in comparison to my previous uploads, this is where my stats are falling, and then this is kind of your 28-day snapshot over here. So this is, if you don't have much time, you see how your channel is doing in this page, and then you go about your day. So and again, it's just so much more visually appealing compared to the last one. This is easy to look at, easy to navigate, and it gives off a feel, in my opinion, of like a 2019 vibe, whereas before, it's just old. So but yeah, this is the analytics, which we were talking about, is the big bulk of what got updated and is what's awesome about it. You have tons more features. It's easier to, again, navigate and see everything. You've got a few different tabs up here: overview, reach viewers, interest, build an audience, earn revenue. You're mainly going to be spending time in your overview and your reach viewers, which I'll show in just a second. But there's some key metrics on here that a lot of people can be using, and in particular, for Amazon sellers, let's say you have a new product and you want to tell everyone about it. You can release it, and when you do, and let's say you make a YouTube video on it, you can see, like, right now how it's doing. I mean, this is your 48-hour span. Like, you used to have to wait a little bit for your analytics, and in the previous analytics, they had a real-time statistics section, but it wasn't as good as this. This is incredibly accurate. It updates every second. and you can see your real-time views, which I think is super cool.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's that. And then I like to spend the most time in reach viewers. This is really how you grow. And this is completely new. This information was never on the platform before. Even in the old analytics, they didn't have this, which is phenomenal. So every other platform that I know of, and because I'm mainly an online, I guess, marketer, if you want to call it, studied marketing in school and whatnot. And you always talk about impressions and click-through rate, especially when you're talking about online, which essentially, your impression is when someone saw your video or product or something, and then your click-through rate is when they actually click on it. This was never a thing on YouTube, which I don't know why. YouTube is just behind the times, because Facebook and the other platforms have had this forever. But we just got it, and it's awesome. I mean, phenomenal. You can see if your content is actually attracting viewers. So in an Amazon seller's perspective, you can release a product and you can see, hey, is it my product that's the issue, or is it my video, or is it something else? Because if a lot of people are seeing my product and they're just not clicking on it, they might just not be interested in that product. And then maybe I got to go back to the drawing board and create a new product that people would be interested in, or maybe tweak the design or something like that. So I love this. It's phenomenal. I'm big on the impressions click-through rate right now. Pretty much the average is 2 to 8%. If you can be around the, I always say 5% mark, you're doing pretty good. Obviously, this channel is doing phenomenal right now. Last time I checked it was actually at 10%, so it keeps going up, which is awesome. Pretty much just means that the content I'm releasing, a lot of people are seeing it, right? I mean, small channel, but 23,000 people are seeing it. And then a good chunk of them are actually clicking on the videos and, watching it. So I love this page. It even shows you where the traffic's coming from, which is awesome. And then, this is like your little funnel. So
yeah, I had no idea that they were showing the external traffic types. That is pretty powerful. I mean, and this is all pretty new. And we're only talking about a couple of months this has been out. So I think there's still going to be a lot of testing to see what happens like over 6 months or over a year. But you're saying 5% is decent. Obviously you're at 11, which you're very happy. Do you have any idea of what the best channels are doing, what their percentages are?
Since this is so new, a lot of creators don't even know how to use this yet, and a lot of the big creators don't really care to use it yet. They're doing fine as it is, so they don't look at this too much. But what I've seen so far is some of the massive channels who've even talked about this surprisingly have very low click-through rates, because they have so many. Like, let's say someone has 1 million subscribers. When they upload a video, 1 million people will see it, hopefully see it in their sub box or their feed. But if someone's been watching a channel for, let's say, like years and years, they might just not find that person as interesting anymore. So they get a ton of impressions, a ton. But their click-through rates usually aren't that large. I've seen the biggest click-through rates in smaller channels, which is awesome, because if you're trying to grow and you're new, that's what you want to see, is a great click-through rate. The highest I've ever seen it is about 16%. And that was, I mean, it blew my mind. I haven't even seen anything close to that. I think another one was 12, and then this 11 is pretty big as well. So that's kind of where I see it.
Yeah, and I think that for Amazon sellers particularly, because we're Amazon says we're not here for a popularity contest. We're here to ultimately build our brand and make sales.
Right.
So I'm really happy to see we're getting some results, because this is instant feedback on the types of video you're creating, or the thumbnail, or something's got to change to your product. It'll allow you to at least quickly get some feedback and start to test some new things and make some changes, versus I think before it was just kind of a bit of a Hail Mary. And I think a lot of people just kept doing the same thing. They thought it was just a numbers game, kept putting out the same content or the same thing, and maybe not having a lot of success. And all they had to do was look at some stats and say, hang on, let's change things up, see a big difference. Well, you're on the right track. So I think this is going to be huge for Amazon sellers.
Yeah, I agree too. It's awesome to be able to see, a step back, because before you pretty much never saw these numbers, and it was just right here. It was views, and maybe you'd see some unique viewers, and you'd think, man, I'm not getting the views. I don't know why. Is it people are just not getting a chance to see my content, or are they seeing it and they just don't want to click it? So I think I love it. I can't stop, getting excited about it.
And I just can't help keep thinking, but why wouldn't have YouTube released some? I mean, and they've got way more data than this too. I mean, they've got so much data. Why wouldn't they have released this earlier? It just kind of blows my mind. But regardless, here we are. Very cool. All right, so now we're looking at the analytics. You said they've got the traffic sources type. But you also mentioned the funnel there on the right hand side. What's that about?
Yeah, so this is a easier way to understand everything. So, and that's another reason why YouTube is trying to make this all user friendly for people who, let's say, don't know much about marketing. Maybe they don't know much about what an impression or click-through rate is. They can learn about it, right? They can read it, but this is your visual representation and helps you grasp the topic super quick. So you can see, hey, top-down funnel. This is how many impressions I'm getting. This is how many people are seeing my video. They're not necessarily clicking on it yet, but they're seeing it. Let's say like on the side of another video or their homepage or, somewhere, or they visit your channel. So they're getting an impression, and then it goes to the next layer of the funnel. All right, well, here's how many views I got from those impressions, and it just happened to be 11%. So it shows you that. And then another thing which is cool is it shows you your view duration in this funnel, which is awesome. So once someone sees your content, they click on your content, then how much of your content are they actually watching? So it's one thing, to have a great click-through rate and to basically get people to click on your video, but it's another thing to get them to actually want to watch your video. So then you can, see it from A to Z. You can see, hey, am I just not doing a good job of grabbing someone's attention? And I've got a great video, I just can't get people to click on it? Or is it the opposite, Is it I'm getting a lot of people clicking on my video, but once they get to it, are they just like, I don't want to watch this, what am I watching? So to be, to have the full picture and to be really good is to have it all, great, click-through rate, and then people also watching a lot of your videos. So, and I love the funnel for that because it just visually, describes it and helps people who are newer to this. So.
All right, what else we got here on the analytics page you would like to show us?
Well, the traffic source types are pretty important, especially when you're starting out. I always like to say, it's your job to get your channel off the ground. It's not YouTube's job. So don't sit there and, upload a video and go, man, no one's watching it. YouTube's useless. Like I'm not going to get anywhere. Because it's your job to prove to YouTube that, hey, my content's good. Here's why you should promote it, and I've got the stats to prove it. So when you're starting out, it's big to have a lot of external traffic coming to your videos. So I track my external traffic a lot. I always post stuff on LinkedIn. You can see I've got some great SEO with Google searches right now, and then I obviously always post it to Facebook pages and Twitter and other things like that. So it's big to take advantage of this external source to really prove to YouTube that, hey, my content's good. I'm bringing people to your platform to watch it. And, in return, if I scratch your back, you should scratch mine. So that's kind of how the algorithm is kind of, worked. So I love the traffic source types. And then, there's a lot of good information down here that you can kind of sift through and see where your traffic's coming from. But that's, again, all just on one tab. They added in multiple tabs and all sorts of information. And then you can always click on something to see, even more. And it just brings up lots of information. You can just go through so much information and dive in and, really see, okay, where's this coming from? How can I maximize on this? How can I, make it a little bit better? So.
And this, I'm assuming, is all in your updated course, yeah?
Yes. So this is, like I said, this whole back end is all new. And so when I was looking back at my course, I realized that, a lot of my course wasn't as useful anymore. So I just completely revamped it, did tons of content on this, and it's all in the new version of the course.
So looking at this, I can see you got your impressions and your click-throughs, and then how many people are actually watching the content once you get there. And you're I completely agree. It's going to tell you where you're lacking. If you get tons of people hitting your video and then nobody watching it, well, there's something either wrong with your video or your product probably. But getting those initial impressions seems to really really, really important. And I know that this is something we briefly discussed a while ago, and it kind of comes down to your thumbnail and sort of attracting that initial attention, getting someone to want to click on that video to check out that product, or just see the message you're trying to portray. Do you want to get into the thumbnail side of it a little bit here?
Yeah, so thumbnails are obviously huge. That I always say the biggest things in terms of, getting a great click-through rate is going to be your thumbnail. People are going to see it, we're visually attracted to things. So they're going to see your thumbnail, but also your title is a big one too. You could have a great thumbnail, awesome looking thumbnail, but if it says something that's just kind of boring or not interesting, then people might just say, hey, that's a cool picture, but I'm going to keep scrolling. So I think those are the two biggest things, your title and your thumbnail. And the thumbnail creation, everyone overthinks it. They think, oh, I don't have any graphical design skills or this and that, and I need to, have this crazy, unique, and complicated system. But the best thumbnails I've ever seen have been used with some simple programs and have taken me 5 minutes to do. So it's just, how to actually do that. And I don't know if do you want me to show actually, some other examples of some products, or do you want me to talk through kind of how to create one?
Well, I guess I'd kind of like you to do both. I mean, especially for everyone here at Amazing and Seller Pro, we're all physical product sellers. So it's one thing, I guess, to be a Kardashian and have that appeal, and their message and everything is different. We're at the end of the day, we're trying to sell products. So if you have some examples of physical product brands and what they've done for their thumbnails, that'd be fantastic. But I think I'd also love to just look at your process for creating them, or at least breaking down, in your mind, what makes a good thumbnail from your experience. So if you want to, maybe let's go through that first, and then we'll take a look at maybe some examples, and you can kind of coach us on what you think they did good or bad or otherwise.
Okay. Let's actually do almost both at the same time. But first, like to run through, the biggest thing when it comes to thumbnail creation, simplicity. That's like, if you take one thing away from creating a thumbnail, keep it simple. Mm-hmm. It always is going to be showing up small. So if you are if you are going, all right, I'm going to put this in this corner and this in that corner, and I'm going to do this over here, and this looks awesome on a 4K TV. No one's going to see that, So keep it super simple. Have one central focus, because they're going to see it very small. So I'll show you with some examples. So, great Amazon seller here. These are some phenomenal thumbnails, in my opinion. When you are creating a thumbnail for a product, you need to just have a really good looking thumbnail of the product, right? So like here, I'm looking at this. Look at how simple this is. It's the product, and it's, what the video is about. How to reset Liberty Air. And that's another great thing I love about, sellers and products in general, is it shows so much more. We were talking about this in the last, webinar we did. But, if you're able to establish a bond with, let's say, your customers by doing things like this, like showing them how to use your product, or how to fix maybe, or how to get the most out of your product. I love videos like that. But in terms of the thumbnails, these are all relatively simple. So I'll show you some good examples and then some bad examples. So these are great examples. I love stuff like this. I would say, some bad examples on this. This is very hard, and you can also see, viewership wise, this video has been out much longer than this one, and the views are kind of low. It's hard, it's cluttered. You don't know really what to look at. You don't know what that says. You'd have to kind of read the title for that. And it's just, it's not as visually appealing as something like this. This is like, wow, okay, that's awesome. I don't know what that product is, but I want to check it out. It looks really cool. Stuff like this is super cool too, but hard to do. Yes?
Yeah, no, it's funny you mention that, because if Anchor is a very well-known Amazon brand, it's one of the largest brands on Amazon, and if you're in the electronics category, you absolutely know who these guys are. It's funny, those videos at the very top where it says how to reset the Liberty Air, like the one on the very top with the white background. I mean, that's, except for the text on it, that's basically like almost like a compliant Amazon main image. I mean, obviously, if it was your main image, you'd have the product a little bit bigger, but that's how simple it is. And you're right, those other things, I don't know, is it a music video? I have no idea what the heck that is. So I think that's a good takeaway here for Amazon sellers, is to have a really good, clear shot of your product in
Yes.
there.
And that's goes back to what we were just talking about with the, impressions and the click-through rate. If you've just got if it's something as clean as this, you see your product, maybe a little bit of text on it or something, and you're seeing a lot of people are seeing this, right? You're getting lots of impressions, but your click-through rate is low. Then that's when you can go back to the drawing board and go, okay, is it my product? Should I maybe tweak my product to make it more appealing so people see it and go, what is that? Let me go check that out. I want to see what that's all about. That's why I love this. Simple thumbnails, and also with the reach viewers tab, you can get a lot out of it, a ton out of it. So this channel is a great example of using a product. Anything tech related with Amazon in terms of selling is awesome, just to show a really cool picture of the product, or something like this, because the beauty of the tech industry is, everyone, if you're in the tech industry, you just want to see what's new. You want to see what a product's all about. Like, I don't really know what this is. Like, I don't know what Liberty Air is, so I kind of want to check it out and see what it's all about. So yeah, so this is a great example.
Yeah, I think, and I mean, whether you're selling sweaters or camping lanterns or picnic things, or tools, I really do feel like having a good image is very, very important. And I do understand how people would want to maybe have more of a lifestyle pic. Let's say you're selling fishing rods and you've got a picture of a guy walking through a stream with a rod over some beautiful mountains. That's very nice. And that might get some clicks. But if I'm really trying to sell that product, I don't know. I really want to see it and then pull me in.
Exactly. So when you've got that great image like you're talking about of that fisherman and that great background, that's more for a video that's going to be something longer that you're, I mean, that's not a selling video. That is a lifestyle video. And which is fine if you want to mix some of those in there, but don't put a 30-second, video spot or minute video spot where you've got a thumbnail like that, because people aren't going to look at that and think it's a video spot or something about the product. They're going to want to see a lifestyle. They're going to be like, okay, what's this guy doing holding the fishing rod? Is this a vlog? Or, what's going on? So that's a really good point. And then, another example I want to show is this one right here. So Hamilton Beach Brands, they do some great stuff. They sometimes go a little bit, overboard on some of the thumbnail creations, but for the most part, they've got some great stuff. Again, simplicity is always king. Like, this is amazing. This is great. Product image, very clean, simple thumbnail. I mean, look, it's got tons of views. Simplicity is always king, where, when people want to really make stuff hard and complicated, it usually doesn't do as well. So always just big on, simplicity and showing what you're actually doing in the video. Because again, if you get a big, a great click-through rate and no one's watching your video, was it really worth it? Sure, your top of the funnel looks great, but the bottom's really where it matters, and you're not getting any results with that. So,
I think too, let's say I decide to sell, I'm selling kitchen appliances. I mean, everybody knows Hamilton Beach. They're a big famous brand. They're in every store. I guess I could just come to their YouTube channel and look at which one of their videos are getting the most views, and just look at their style and try and emulate them too.
Exactly. So YouTube's a big, and I talk about this in my course, YouTube's a big thing. It's a community for a reason, and you want to see what's working and then apply that to your style. So people are sometimes scared to think, I don't want to copy another brand, or I want to do my own thing, which is totally fine. But you can take some great ideas from a brand or someone who's doing really well, and then apply that to your brand or what you're doing. And there's no harm. I mean, YouTube is a community where everyone's always feeding off each other, and the people who are in the community watching the videos, they want to see that too. If they see and they're interested in this, video or product, and something's pretty similar, they're okay. I'm gonna watch this one, then I'm gonna watch this one. So that's a great point as well. Is these are great examples to just always look at and see, okay, what are they doing? How can I apply this to what I'm doing? And I'm a big believer of just everyone in the community always working together and finding what's working and what's not working. So examples are big. And then I've got one more example. And I'm actually, I've got a great relationship with this company, because they actually used to sponsor one of my channels way back in the day, and that's how I found them. And then I was like really turned on by their awesome branding. because it's so simple. I love the simplicity. You can see they've got some great products, and they've got, as you can tell, they've got a theme with a lot of their thumbnails, and they kind of, you know, make the text of whatever it is a little bit transparent. So it's there, but your main focus is going to be on the product, or, you know, what the picture's all about. So this is another really great example as well.
Yeah, and each one, it looks like it has like the model number on there too. Hey, that's part of their
A big
formatting.
thing with them, I know that they have so many products that are, they look very similar, but all have very different, you know, attributes. I have a keyboard from them right now, and they've got 3 keyboards that look exactly the same, but they're all very different. So I feel like that's why they have that strategy.
Yeah, it makes sense. And for anyone again on Amazon, Oki is a huge brand, and if you're electronics, you absolutely know who they are.
It's funny. These are the 3 keyboards I was just talking about.
Hmm.
So very similar, but you know, a little bit different. So I like the way they brand their stuff, and they do a really great job with it. And another reason why I like this brand is because, you know, and we talked about it a little bit in the last time we spoke, Shane, but they're a great company at going out and finding influencers on YouTube and, you know, getting them to promote their product. And that's another huge part that is discussed a little bit in the course, but that's big as well. It's not just what you're doing on your channel, but also, you know, what else you're doing in the community. So yeah.
Fair enough. Well, I think we see how important thumbnails is. I mean, some people are probably saying, you know, what the heck is a thumbnail? Well, a thumbnail is that image you see there. And I think a lot of people make the assumption that the thumbnail is just part of the video. It's the first frame of the video or something, or somewhere in the middle, but it's not. It's something completely different that you create. So maybe just kind of take us through what a thumbnail is, and maybe for us, because we're going to be content creators, even if we're getting someone to make the video for us, sort of to create and then test those thumbnails.
Yeah, so let's actually go into my videos really quick, and I can pull one up for you and just show you kind of how simplistic it is and pretty much everything about it. So once you go ahead and upload a video on YouTube, again, this is all walked through in the course, you can see these are frames of the video right here. And that's what people think, okay, this is my thumbnail. I'll just click that button. That's not, that is 2009. I mean, that is like way back in the day what you do. Now, you know, you need to be uploading a custom thumbnail to get that viewer's attention. And as you can see with this thumbnail, again, very simple. It's just a blurred out background and some text. It's got a very good central focus, and simplicity is always key. So when you're actually creating these thumbnails, there's tons of ways you can go about it. You know, I use Photoshop, and that's probably your top level, you know, cream of the crop kind of program. But there's tons of free programs, which we're gonna kind of talk about, are gonna be given it in the bonus for this. But you know, there's programs like Canva and PicMonkey, which I talk about in my course, that you could do this very simply, very quickly. You drop, I mean, it's all plug and play. Drop an image in the background, add some text, maybe throw in a little, you know, outline on the text, make it pop. It does not require a lot of time and a lot of effort. Some of the best thumbnails I've ever made have been, you know, taking me a couple minutes. So it's definitely not something that you need to be a pro at to do really well. So
very cool. I want to ask you though, just before we move on, with these changes, with YouTube giving these new analytical sort of insights in the back end, what's going on, have you already seen an impact or have been able to take advantage of these to make any changes yourself, or understand an area of weakness or strength in your channels?
yes. So immediately, you know, like I said, I've been a big fan of this. So immediately I saw across all of my channels, not just this one, I would compare where the click-through rates are at, and then I would take a step back and think, okay, well, why is the click-through rate this way? When we first got this feature, like I said, in about January, at the end of January, my click-through rate was around 6%, and I was pretty happy with that at the time. I was like, man, that's a pretty good average. But then I took a step back and thought, okay, how do I make that better? Well, a big thing is going to be, you know, your thumbnail and your title creation, like I was mentioning. So I sat down and I started looking at each individual video and said, okay, what are the click-through rates on this versus this versus this? And I noticed that all of the really good click-through rates were on the videos with the simplest thumbnails. I mean, my highest click-through rate was one that almost looked like a frame of the video. You know, it was just simple. There was not even any text on it. And then I looked at some of the ones with the bad click-through rates and realized, okay, I threw a lot of stuff in this thumbnail. I spent a couple hours on the thumbnail, and it's doing, you know, the opposite of what I wanted to do. So since these updates, I've been able to look individually at each video and go, okay, you know, here's where I can improve this, here's where I cannot improve this. And I've even gone to some of my other channels and have updated some of the thumbnails and titles on pre-existing videos and have kind of tested, you know, what that's done. And it's small traffic, you know, when you've got a video that's, let's say, like 6 months old, it's smaller traffic, but you can still see a difference in the click-through rates once you change something up. So that's kind of how I've been using it. It's been awesome. I mean, I'm a big analytic person, especially when it comes to YouTube. So I'm loving this click-through rate.
Awesome, Shawn. Thanks for going through that analytical tool, what it's doing, and sharing your insight. I think I still have to think about it a little bit more in order to really maximize it for what I'm doing. And I really feel that, I mean, when people think of YouTube, I think they're thinking more of influencers. You know, they're going there to see celebs or famous people or funny videos, whatever. I mean, a lot of times, you know, you'll be researching a product and you'll want to know how it works, and you'll find a YouTube video and, oh, perfect, here's a video tutorial. Like, we do it that way, but in my mind, it seems like we do it as a secondary thing more often than our primary thing. And I think that leaves a lot of unbroken ground, a lot of blue ocean for people. And I think that a lot of Amazon sellers still are not taking advantage of YouTube. And I know that, you know, as an Amazon seller, it's not necessary. I don't have to be on YouTube, but I think it's really a neglected area that I think has just absolutely massive potential. I think that most people think that, and we mentioned this last time, most people think they don't have time. They don't have the expertise. They don't understand how it works. But you know, once you understand the power of YouTube, you get the time in to get it up and running well. I think it can be an absolute game changer. And Shawn, I wanted to ask you, what's your feeling then? You being, I'll call you a YouTube insider, on the amount of brands that you see, or maybe you don't see, on YouTube, the sheer size and scope of the opportunity here, plus that opportunity potentially, I'm going to say, dominate your competition because they're simply usually not there.
Yes. So I'm going to give you a quick example. Last night, you know, I'm a big lake wakeboard kind of guy, and I want to get a new board. So what do? I go to Amazon. I'm looking at boards. I'm comparing boards, and I pick out two really good ones that I think I really like. And I'm like, man, these are both awesome. But you know, wakeboards aren't cheap. So I want to go and I want to see other people riding. What are other people saying about them? One board had tons of content on YouTube. I mean, I must have watched 10 videos. The other board had nothing. Maybe a couple second kind of intro clip that was pretty much just already on the Amazon page. And so I looked at the two and I was like, you know, I watched so much content on this other board. They're very similar, but I know that people love this board. Not 100% on this one. So I bought this one, right? And it was just, it was a simple decision for me. I didn't even have to, like, you know, once I watched all the videos, I didn't even have to really go, okay, well, you know, what are the pros and cons? No, like I instantly knew I wanted this one. So YouTube is so powerful for that because, you know, your product can be amazing, but if you've got a mediocre product that everyone keeps talking about, that everyone loves, this one will probably sell better than one that's amazing that no one, you know, really is talking about. And YouTube's the avenue for that. Whether you're uploading the videos, you know, on like your brand's YouTube channel, or if you're working with influencers and, you know, they're giving product reviews on YouTube and making videos on YouTube for it, it's so powerful, so powerful. I work with a lot of brands and companies on, you know, getting their YouTube channel going and developing strategies. And the power, like you were just saying, the power of YouTube is insane. And I mean, it's the second largest search engine behind Google. And people connect with video, like right now, connect with video so much more than just image or text. So If you're not on YouTube, again, it's not mandatory, right, to sell on Amazon, but it's that extra thing that puts you above your competitors. That, hey, if someone's debating you or your competitor, if you've got a lot of social proof on, other platforms like YouTube, I personally think that's going to be the difference in the buyer's mind. So
yeah, and that's a perfect example. Exactly. And that's what I call that secondary search. There's probably another name for it, but and some people might go to YouTube if they're looking for a new computer mouse. They may start their search there, but you're right. So often people start with a Google search or an Amazon search, and then they're like, which one do I go with? And you got that extra info. It's just crystal clear, and that's what cements the deal. I think that's the real power there. Absolutely.
And another thing I want to add real quick is you're mentioning about time. Like people always say, I don't have the time for that. I always preach that, you can spend one day a month, and you can get weekly content, one video a week for the whole month. And that's what I do now for this channel I was just showing. I spend one day every 30 days, and I get 5 videos done for the month. So time should never be an excuse. It really doesn't take that much time if you're just dedicated to it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you mentioned too, if you're just absolutely dead set or you can't do it, you could get an influencer to pump out one a month or one a week, or whatever you need, or different influencers, just so that content is there, showcasing your product and showing how to use it. Whatever your situation is, I think there's sort of no excuse.
100%.
We've talked about the challenges that we all face as sellers when we're up against what might seem like a very daunting task when we're creating a YouTube channel and then trying to create the content and then maintaining it properly. But when the sheer power of the platform, and given I'm going to call them major holes in it in terms of how well it's being utilized by physical product brands, and it's really not by most brands, I think that you'd be nuts not to make plans to incorporate it into your marketing plan. You don't have to, doesn't have to be the number one thing, but I do think it has to be a component. And I really think here that, Shawn has removed the guesswork. It's not like you're flying blind and now we've got analytics tools. And you're not just hoping for the best. We've got a real plan here to take it from A to Z. So with Shawn, you've got one of the best people in the business who's laid this out. As well as continually updating the course, and that's of course what he's done. He's updated about 30-35% of the content in order to always be very timely and very, very relevant. So I think if you want your business to succeed, you often have to do what others are unwilling or unable to do, right? So trust me, watch this course, get inspired, take some action, let the power of YouTube drive you forward. So Shawn, I just want to say thanks again so much, my friend, from me, the team here at Seller Pro, all of our members who are watching this. We really appreciate your time. And
again, guys, that's going to do it for the video on this channel. Again, I just wanted to throw up this webinar, give you guys a little bit of background on it. It was very product driven, as you saw. Figured it could help some people, and wanted to kind of throw it up on my channel. So again, if you're new around here, consider smacking that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. I'm always dropping great content like this on here. So again, hopefully you enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon.